What is up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new YouTube video, a brand new episode of The Atmosphere. I'm excited, man. Episode 2, and we already got a new setting. We already got some new scenery. I figured since we're an NBA show and we talk basketball here, I should get some NBA gear behind me. So I got the Harden jersey on one side, we're rocking Book on the other, some elite bucket getters. Let's go. Nothing wrong with that. And I got some other jerseys I'll try to throw up in some other episodes for sure. I'm just trying to get myself festive. I'm trying to get myself into the swing of things because playoffs are really ramping up. We had 3 game 3s yesterday, and that's what we're going to be diving into today. We honestly had it all yesterday. It felt like a regular season game with like 15 games on. We had superstars getting ejected. We had superstars resting. We had superstars going off. High scoring games, low scoring games, some close games, a little blowout in there. But let's jump right into it. I feel like there was still a lot to learn from yesterday for sure. There's a lot to learn from these games. So starting off, Sixers Nets, 102-97 finish in favor of the Sixers. And honestly, we'll just get the officiating out of the way. It was kind of ridiculous, I'm not gonna lie. The fact that Harden got ejected for that push-off, but Embiid didn't get ejected for the kick. That if anything, they should have been switched. That Harden's was way more of a basketball play than Embiid's was, obviously. Then we also finally had Nick Claxton getting ejected off just his technicals piling up from him just getting in everybody's face after every dunk possible. That, while it felt like it was a chippy game for sure, the officials definitely found their way to put their stamp on it one way or another. So, but honestly, on both sides, there's a lot to take away. For the Nets, it's a devastating loss, to be honest, because I figured if there was one game they were going to be able to steal, it was going to be this one. Because in game 2, they really figured something out. The doubling of Embiid, the forcing the ball out of his hands, making other guys beat you, you know. They really had a defensive scheme coming from game 2 into game 3, and I figured with the momentum at home that they would definitely be able to get something going. And they did. Like in game 2, they just didn't hit their threes. When it came down to it, in game 3, they were pushing the pace, controlling the tempo, and hitting their shots. But at this stage, this Nets team is just a little too inconsistent. They went from a 28-point first quarter to a 19-point second quarter to a 35-point third quarter to a 15-point fourth quarter. If anything, that's just how inexperienced teams lose games. Like I said, that they have something figured out on defense. Only giving up 102 total points, and the Sixers only had an 18-point third quarter. It seemed obvious the target was going to be on Embiid's back this game, and it definitely paid off. Tyrese Maxey ended up taking more field goals than Embiid, which I know they ended up getting the win, but in a playoff game, that just should never happen, you know? That should never happen. But I love to see the jump Tyrese Maxey's making in this playoff series, and he probably will continue to make throughout the rest of the playoffs. He's looking confident, efficient, and when it comes down to it, he wants the ball and he's ready to shoot it. So they got another game from him. Harden finally showed up before his ejection in the third quarter. But my main eye was going to be on Tobias Harris and see if he was going to have finally a consistent series. And he actually played alright yesterday. Shot 6 of 13 with 2 threes. I mean, I'll take that. But like I said, in a game where Embiid only shot the ball 13 times and the ball is being forced out of his hands a lot, there's obviously a lot of opportunity elsewhere for other guys to capitalize. And scoring 102 points isn't going to work in especially the next playoff series for whoever they face. But I'll say they showed some great resiliency in this game. And the Sixers are known to be a team that when they get punched, they wobble, and they wobble a lot. But they got punched and they bounced back and they pulled out a win. A scrappy win, you'll take that in the playoffs. So like I said, I did see this being the one game that the Nets were going to be able to steal, but I don't know, going into game 4, the Nets are going to be able to get it done. Moving into our next series, it wasn't necessarily as fun of a game because the blowout that did occur, but watching Steph drop 36 points and hit 6 threes will never get old. So, but when it really came down to it, the Warriors, like the Sixers, showed some great resiliency on defense. Their anchor Draymond Green was out, but they still managed to hold the Kings to only 97 points in the whole game. This also coming with limiting a lot of their bench production. Like Malik Monk has been having himself a series, but 1 for 9 and only 4 points. That's shutting someone down. So I did think the Kings' defense from game 2 would be able to carry over into this game and maybe have some impact with especially no Draymond there to fire them up. That shout out Alex Hoops on Twitter and on YouTube. That Kevin Huerter was absolutely dominant in game 2. You know, dominant is a stretch, but he really showcased a lot of grit and a lot of hustle. And that's exactly what it's going to take to guard Steph and Clay out there on the perimeter. So you need guys like that to show up every night and really put in the effort. And some nights it's not going to show up, especially on the road. All in all, the variance in this game was kind of ridiculous. 11 for 47 from 3 for the Kings, and giving up 18 offensive rebounds, 9 of those going to Kevon Looney himself. That's basically the game right there. The Warriors did a great job of playing off the Kings' misses, pushing the pace. You could tell that the Warriors controlled the tempo for the entire game. So I think we all know the adjustments the Kings are going to need to make. They're going to need more bench production. Someone else is going to have to create that spark for sure. But with Draymond back, the Warriors arena is going to be loud. I can guarantee you that. Maybe with Jordan Poole back in his bench role, he can maybe figure it out at home. And they're hoping to get probably the same consistency from Moses Moody with another home game too. So game 4 is going to be a good one. This might be a must watch. This is going to be for sure a must watch. If anything, I'm gonna be honest, I see the Warriors split in the series in Game 4, and I see this thing going 7 regardless. Alright, I'm gonna be real honest. I'm gonna be real transparent with y'all. I had just got home from work. I just started recording this. I was editing it right now, and I just realized I was still wearing the work shirt, bro. Please don't come for me. I got the Starbucks logo on my arm and everything. That's crazy. Don't mind me now. Last segment, I figured I'd get some lead merch on. Let's get it going. And honestly, me editing that video back, I realized I didn't even tell you that the atmosphere itself is brought to you by the Lead Sports Media. And I'm Cameron Prichard. Just key details that should go into the beginning, but I'm just going to be transparent. We're going to get it in here when we can, y'all. So, let's go. Brought to you by the Lead Sports Media. Alright, now that we've speed ran the first 2 games from yesterday, let's quickly get ourselves into Suns Clippers, man. Because for as much hype and as much anticipation that was going into this game, it all got thrown out the window hours before when Kawhi got ruled out because he re-aggravated something in his knee. Which reports say they found out during Game 1 and he played through it in Game 2, which is absolutely ridiculous because he had like 38 points in Game 2. Alright, I figured I found my phone to check. 31 points on 11 of 20 shooting and 3 of 5 from deep. He also was a menace on defense with 3 steals and absolutely making the Suns' lives hell all night. But apparently after that game, it was probably too much that Kellen Olsen, a Suns reporter at Arizona Sports, noted, compared to all these other series, the Suns-Clippers series doesn't have 2 days off in between any game. So the next game they're playing is going to be this Saturday at 12:30, so mid-afternoon game. So they're probably trying to get as much rest time, apparently, probably before that game. Which I can respect, I guess, but if Paul George isn't coming back anyways, man. What's the chances that you guys are really going to have? But that's the benefit of the Clippers stealing the very first game, is that they had money to play with. They had room to play with. So getting into the hoop that was played on Thursday, you would think that the Suns were set up to absolutely smash this Clippers team. But my goodness, from the start, it was actually kind of a struggle. And in my very first debut video covering this series in its entirety, I made a point that the Clippers defense was going to be a little shaky for me. And if you were watching Game 1, 2, and 3, you know that I was completely wrong. The way Russ snatched that very first pass that was going to Kevin Durant, he just stared at the ball after getting the bucket at the other end. I knew the Suns were going to be going through it that night. And that's been the Clippers' MO all series. They're just not letting the Suns catch the ball in any comfortable spots, not letting them run any comfortable half-court sets, and it seems like the Suns just can't push the ball in transition at all. They can't push the ball off any Clippers misses. But what the Suns did better in this game than they have in other games was limiting the offensive rebounds. But that's been a staple of the waves the Clippers have been making so far. They've wanted it more, they've hustled more, and they've just out-jumped and out-rebounded the Suns for sure. And when it comes down to it, a lot of people knew the Suns were going to rely on their top-end talent for sure, rather than the hustle. But that's not how the playoffs works. That's not how the playoffs work. So that first half of the game, you could tell the Suns just couldn't get any rhythm. It was a game of runs. Clippers went on a 6-0 run. Suns went on a 12-0 run, and the Clippers went on their own, like, 12-something run. So you could tell it was playing to the Clippers' favor, if anything. But things settled down, and the identity of the Suns feels like it's kind of been lost a little bit, but they refound it last night, and they turned defense to offense, and they really found themselves in transition and got themselves going. Suns coach Monty Williams has made it a point to say that he wants the Suns to shoot more threes and get the ball up more often, and they've definitely been progressing in each game, getting more shots off from deep. And when it came down to it, man, Devin Booker is really that guy. Game 2 and Game 3, the balls has been forced out of Kevin Durant's hands a lot. Like I said, they haven't been letting him get comfortable at all. And that's involved a lot of double teams coming his way, which the ball has swung to D-Book's way, and he has really taken advantage. If anything, he's looked like the best player in the entire playoffs. But a 45-point game on 18 of 29 shooting. Man had 14 more shots than KD did. His defense deserves an honorable mention too. He had 3 steals and 2 blocks in Game 3. Game 1, he had 4 steals and 3 blocks. It's been a pleasure to absolutely watch him dial in, lock in this playoff run, and bring the hustle that I mentioned a lot of Suns aren't really bringing. He's out there diving for loose balls. He's the one putting pressure on the rim. He scrambled well. He's making great decisions on defense and on offense. He's already had an all-time series, but we saw one of his all-time performances in Game 3. But I give him all this praise, I give him all this love, but that's almost the thing that's making me the most nervous. The Suns are relying so much on their top end, on Book and on KD to really get the offense going that I'm scared it's gonna pile on. A key that the Suns have been waiting for is Cam Payne to return back from injury. He's an absolute spark from their bench that they get a lot of their scoring from, to be honest. He provides a lot of transition flow and plays well off a lot of the other guys and gets the offense juice. So adjustments moving forward for the Suns, you're hoping that maybe just Cam Payne can come back, and you're hoping Monty can find a solid rotation in his back end. So that's been one of the most up-in-the-air things, too, for Phoenix. I mentioned it on the video covering the series in general. That was one of my main questions for the Suns, and it still is, because Monty still can't get it figured out. But Ty Lue absolutely threw everything he had at the Suns Game 3, so I don't even know what's going to come Game 4. I suppose the biggest question for them is going to be the status of Kawhi Leonard. And we're not getting out of here without me mentioning that Norman Powell had his own 42 points on 23 shots, so see if he can't find something and carry that over to the next game, too. Also, I need to give Russ Westbrook a little shout-out. His 30 points on 23 3 shots also. He had 12 assists, 8 rebounds, and near triple-double. Near triple-double came back. And he's shown the most heart and hustle out of anybody in the entire playoffs, probably too. So he deserves some credit where credit is due. When it comes down to it, I don't know. I think the Suns are kind of figuring themselves out a little bit. They're even figuring out the Clippers a little bit too. That in my previous debut video, I predicted Suns in 5 or 6. I'm sticking there. I might even go a little more solid on Suns in 5. But who knows, man? Anything can happen. We've seen so much go on in this playoffs already. More Game 3s today. We got Celtics, Hawks, Cavs, Knicks, Nuggets, Wolves. Those are going to be some fire games. And Game 3 is a win series. Get real. So we are about that time. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Atmosphere. Like, subscribe, share all the goodies. You know. And happy playoffs, baby. Let's keep it going.